The story begins in the bustling city of Chicago, where wealthy businessman Lorraine Sotwell and her husband live in an opulent mansion that speaks to their considerable fortune. The C. Otwell family represents the epitome of upper-class society, with their sprawling estate featuring manicured gardens, ornate furnishings, and all the trappings of wealth that money can buy. At the center of their world is their most precious possession, a cherubic 9-month-old baby named Bink, who has become the apple of their eye and the focus of their entire existence. Lorraine Sotwell is a devoted mother who dotes on her infant son with the kind of attention that only someone with unlimited resources and time can provide. She has arranged for professional photographers to capture what she hopes will be the perfect family portrait, complete with elaborate props and carefully coordinated outfits that will showcase their family's prosperity and happiness. The mansion itself serves as a backdrop for this portrait session, with its grand staircase, crystal chandeliers, and expensive artwork, creating an atmosphere of refined elegance. The photographers arrive with their professional equipment, lights, and cameras, transforming the C. Otwell living room into a makeshift studio. They arrange the furniture with meticulous care, adjusting the lighting to cast the most flattering shadows and highlights across the family's faces. Lorraine has dressed baby Bink in an adorable outfit that coordinates perfectly with her own elegant attire, while her husband sports a sophisticated suit that complements the overall aesthetic they're trying to achieve. However, as anyone who has ever attempted to photograph a baby knows, infants rarely cooperate with carefully laid plans. Baby Bink proves to be particularly uncooperative during the photo session, crying at inopportune moments, refusing to look at the camera when directed, and generally displaying the kind of unpredictable behavior that makes professional photography with children such a challenging endeavor. The photographers work patiently, trying various techniques to capture the baby's attention and coax a smile from his tiny face. Meanwhile, across town in a completely different part of Chicago, 3 small-time criminals are hatching what they believe to be a foolproof plan for easy money. Eddie, Vico, and Norby represent the bottom tier of the criminal underworld, men whose previous schemes have been marked more by incompetence than success. They spend their days in dingy apartments and cheap diners, dreaming of the big score that will finally set them up for life and allow them to escape their current circumstances of poverty and failure. Eddie appears to be the leader of this unlikely trio, though his leadership skills are questionable at best. He possesses the kind of misplaced confidence that often characterizes small-time criminals who believe they're smarter than they actually are. His plans typically involve what he considers clever shortcuts and foolproof strategies, though his track record suggests otherwise. He's the type of man who reads about successful heists in the newspaper and convinces himself that he could have executed them better. Vico serves as Eddie's primary accomplice, a nervous and somewhat reluctant criminal who often finds himself going along with Eddie's schemes despite his better judgment. He's the type of person who worries about getting caught, but lacks the backbone to refuse participation in Eddie's increasingly questionable plan. His anxiety about their criminal activities is palpable, and he frequently expresses doubts about their chances of success, though he never quite works up the courage to walk away from the partnership. Norby rounds out this trio of incompetent criminals, bringing his own unique brand of cluelessness to their operations. He's perhaps the most dim-witted of the three, often misunderstanding basic instructions and finding ways to complicate even the simplest tasks. His contributions to their criminal enterprises tend to create more problems than they solve, though his companions have grown accustomed to his limitations and factor them into their planning process. The 3 men have been reading newspaper articles about the C. Otwell family's wealth, studying photographs of their mansion, and developing what they believe to be intimate knowledge of the family's routines and vulnerabilities. They've noticed the regular pattern of activity around the house, including the comings and goings of various service providers, delivery personnel, and maintenance workers who have access to the property. This observation has led them to believe that gaining entry to the mansion will be relatively straightforward. Their plan centers around a kidnapping scheme that they've convinced themselves is both simple and lucrative. They intend to abduct baby Bink and hold him for ransom, assuming that the wealthy Sotwell family will pay any amount to ensure their child's safe return. The criminals have calculated what they believe to be a reasonable ransom demand, One that will provide them with enough money to retire from their life of petty crime while presumably being affordable for a family of the C-12's obvious means. What the three criminals failed to consider is their complete lack of experience with children, particularly infants, who require constant attention, care, and supervision. Their understanding of babies appears to be limited to what they've seen in movies and television shows, where children are typically portrayed as cooperative props rather than the demanding, unpredictable, and resourceful little beings they actually are. This fundamental misunderstanding of child behavior will prove to be a critical flaw in their otherwise straightforward plan. Back at the Seacotwell mansion, the photo session continues with mixed results. Baby Bink alternates between periods of cooperation and outright rebellion, sometimes sitting still for the camera and other times becoming fussy and difficult to manage. The photographers work with professional patience, understanding that working with infants requires flexibility and the willingness to work around the child's natural rhythms and moods. During one of the breaks in the photo session, Lorraine takes the opportunity to tend to her son's needs, changing his diaper and ensuring that he's comfortable and well-fed. The mansion's nursery is a testament to parental devotion, filled with expensive toys, educational materials, and everything a growing baby could possibly need. The walls are decorated with colorful murals. The furniture is crafted from the finest materials, and the entire room radiates the kind of warmth and love that unlimited resources can provide. As the photo session resumes, the photographers make another attempt to capture the perfect family portrait. They adjust their equipment once again, experimenting with different angles and lighting configurations that might better showcase the family's bond and happiness. Baby Bink seems to sense the importance of the moment and provides them with several genuinely charming expressions that the photographers quickly capture with their professional-grade cameras. The three criminals, meanwhile, have finalized their preparations and are conducting what they consider to be final reconnaissance of the Seacotwell property. They drive past the mansion in an unremarkable vehicle, noting the locations of windows, doors, and potential entry points that might facilitate their planned kidnapping. They observe the patterns of activity around the house, timing the movements of various staff members and service providers who regularly visit the property. Eddie believes he has identified the optimal time for their operation, a window of opportunity when the house will be relatively unguarded and their chances of successfully completing the kidnapping will be maximized. He explains his strategy to his accomplices with the kind of confidence that suggests he's thought through every possible contingency, though in reality his plan contains numerous potential points of failure that he hasn't considered. The criminals have acquired what they believe to be the necessary equipment for their operation, including rope, masks, and a vehicle suitable for transportation. They've also prepared a location where they intend to hold Baby Bink while they negotiate the ransom with his parents, a secluded spot that they believe will keep them hidden from law enforcement while providing adequate facilities for their temporary prisoner. What they haven't adequately prepared for is the reality of caring for an infant, particularly one as active and curious as Baby Bink. They've made assumptions about how the baby will behave during the kidnapping and subsequent captivity, assumptions based more on wishful thinking than actual knowledge of child development and behavior. This oversight will prove to be far more significant than they realize. The morning of their planned operation arrives with clear skies and perfect weather conditions that the criminals interpret as a good omen for their venture. They conduct final equipment checks, review their plan one more time, and steel themselves for what they believe will be a straightforward criminal operation that will set them up financially for years to come. At the Seacotwell mansion, the day begins like any other, with Lorraine tending to Baby Bink's morning routine while her husband prepares for another day of managing his business interests. The house staff goes about their regular duties, maintaining the property and ensuring that everything runs smoothly for the family. None of them suspect that they're being watched by three would-be criminals who are preparing to dramatically disrupt their peaceful existence. Baby Bink wakes up in his luxurious nursery, surrounded by the familiar sights and sounds of his comfortable world. He's reached the age where his curiosity about his environment is beginning to manifest in more active exploration, though his parents haven't yet realized just how mobile and determined their son is becoming. His developing motor skills and natural inquisitiveness will soon prove to be factors that no one in the household has adequately anticipated. The criminals make their final approach to the mansion, timing their arrival to coincide with what they believe to be an optimal window of opportunity. They've observed that certain staff members follow predictable schedules, and they're counting on this routine to provide them with the access they need to complete their mission successfully. Their confidence in their plan is absolute, though it's built on incomplete information and wishful thinking. Eddie leads his accomplices through what he considers to be the final briefing, reviewing each person's role in the operation and emphasizing the importance of following the plan exactly as they've rehearsed it. He stresses the need for quick, efficient action that will minimize their exposure to detection while maximizing their chances of successfully abducting the baby and escaping without incident. The three men approach the mansion with what they believe to be professional stealth, though their movements are actually quite obvious to anyone who might be watching. They're carrying their equipment in bags that they think look inconspicuous, but actually appear quite suspicious to trained observers. Their nervous energy and frequent glances around the property telegraph their intentions more clearly than they realize. As they near the house, they encounter their first unexpected complication when they discover that the mansion's security measures are more sophisticated than their casual observation had revealed. The property is equipped with surveillance cameras, motion sensors, and other protective devices that they hadn't noticed during their reconnaissance phase. This forces them to modify their approach on the spot, adapting their plan to circumstances they hadn't anticipated. Despite these complications, the criminals manage to find a way into the house through a service entrance that appears to be unmonitored. They congratulate themselves on their cleverness, though in reality they've simply been lucky enough to exploit a temporary gap in the mansion's otherwise comprehensive security coverage. Their success at this stage gives them false confidence in their abilities and their plan. Once inside the mansion, the three men are temporarily overwhelmed by the opulence of their surroundings. The interior of the house exceeds even their inflated expectations, with artwork, furnishings, and decorative elements that represent more wealth than they've ever seen in one location. This brief moment of awe threatens to distract them from their mission, but Eddie quickly refocuses his team on their objective. They make their way through the house with what they believe to be careful stealth, though their unfamiliarity with the layout causes them to make several wrong turns and waste precious time that increases their risk of detection. The mansion is much larger than they had anticipated, with numerous rooms, hallways, and staircases that weren't visible from their external observation points. Eventually, they locate Baby Bink's nursery, where they find the infant playing contentedly in his crib, surrounded by toys and completely unaware of the danger he's in. The sight of their intended victim gives the criminals a moment of pause, as none of them has much experience with children, and they're not entirely sure how to proceed with the actual abduction phase of their operation. Eddie takes charge of the situation, approaching the crib with what he hopes is a reassuring demeanor that will keep the baby calm during the kidnapping process. He's read somewhere that babies respond to gentle voices and non-threatening movements, though his understanding of child psychology is extremely limited and based more on speculation than actual knowledge. Baby Bink looks up at the strangers with the kind of curious interest that infants typically display when encountering new faces. He shows no fear or distress at their presence, instead seeming to regard them as potential new playmates who might provide entertainment and interaction. This innocent response makes the criminals feel somewhat better about their actions, though they don't fully understand the implications of the baby's trusting nature. The actual abduction proves to be surprisingly straightforward, as Baby Bink offers no resistance when Eddie lifts him from his crib. The criminals make their way back through the mansion with their captive, retracing their steps toward the exit they used to gain entry. They're pleased with how smoothly their operation has proceeded thus far, interpreting Baby Bink's cooperation as evidence that their plan is working perfectly. They fail to recognize that the baby's calm behavior might not continue indefinitely, especially once he realizes he's been separated from his familiar environment and caregivers. Their exit from the mansion goes as smoothly as their entry, with no sign that anyone has discovered their presence or realized that Baby Bink is missing. They reach their vehicle without incident and quickly drive away from the CO12 property, congratulating themselves on what they believe has been a flawlessly executed kidnapping operation. As they drive through the streets of Chicago with their captive, the criminals begin to discuss the next phase of their plan, which involves transporting baby Bink to their predetermined hiding place and preparing to contact his parents with their ransom demands. They're feeling confident and optimistic about their prospects, believing that the most difficult part of their operation is now behind them. Baby Bink, meanwhile, seems to be enjoying his unexpected adventure, looking out the windows of the vehicle with interest and babbling contentedly as they travel through the city. His behavior continues to reinforce the criminals' belief that they've chosen an ideal victim, someone who won't cause them problems or complications during the ransom negotiation process. However, what the three men don't yet realize is that baby Bink is not the passive, helpless victim they've assumed him to be. At 9 months old, he's reached a stage of development where his natural curiosity and problem-solving abilities are beginning to manifest in ways that will soon surprise everyone around him. His apparent contentment masks a developing intelligence and resourcefulness that will prove to be far more challenging than his captors have anticipated. The criminals arrive at their predetermined hideout, a shabby apartment in a run-down section of the city that they've rented under false names for the duration of their operation. The location is far removed from the luxury of the Ctwell mansion, with basic furnishings, minimal amenities, and an overall atmosphere of neglect and decay that reflects their limited resources and planning abilities. They carry baby Bink into the apartment, still marveling at how cooperative he's been throughout the entire kidnapping process. They've prepared what they consider to be adequate facilities for their young captive, including a makeshift crib fashioned from a cardboard box, some baby formula they purchased at a convenience store, and a few basic supplies they think will meet his needs during his captivity. Eddie immediately begins preparing to contact the Ctwell family with their ransom demands, while Vico and Norby are assigned the task of watching baby Bink and ensuring that he remains secure and quiet. The division of labor seems logical to them, though none of them has considered the practical challenges of actually caring for an infant, particularly one who's been removed from his familiar environment and routine. As the reality of their situation begins to set in, the criminals start to notice that caring for a baby involves far more work and attention than they had anticipated. Baby Bink requires regular feeding, diaper changes, and constant supervision to ensure his safety and well-being. These responsibilities quickly begin to consume their time and energy, making it difficult for them to focus on the other aspects of their criminal operation. Back at the Ctwell mansion, the discovery of baby Bink's disappearance creates immediate chaos and panic. Lorraine becomes hysterical when she realizes her son is missing, while her husband immediately contacts the authorities to report the kidnapping. The mansion quickly fills with police officers, FBI agents, and other law enforcement personnel who begin processing the crime scene and gathering evidence. The investigation reveals clear signs of forced entry and provides several clues about the identity and methods of the kidnappers. Law enforcement officials are optimistic about their chances of quickly locating and apprehending the criminals, though they're also concerned about the welfare of baby Bink and the potential for the situation to escalate if the kidnappers become desperate or panicked. Detective Grissom, an experienced law enforcement officer with expertise in kidnapping cases, takes charge of the investigation and begins coordinating the various agencies and resources that will be involved in the search for baby Bink. He has a reputation for thoroughness and persistence, qualities that will be essential in what promises to be a complex and challenging case. The detective's initial assessment of the crime scene reveals that the kidnappers are likely amateurs rather than professional criminals, based on the evidence they've left behind and the methods they used to gain entry to the mansion. This assessment is both encouraging and concerning, as amateur criminals can be unpredictable and prone to making mistakes that might endanger their victim. Meanwhile, at the hideout, the three criminals are beginning to experience the first signs of the complications that will soon overwhelm their carefully laid plans. Baby Bink is starting to become fussy and demanding, crying when he's hungry, uncomfortable, or simply bored with his new surroundings. The criminals find themselves ill-equipped to deal with these normal infant behaviors, lacking both the experience and the patience necessary to provide adequate care. Eddie's attempts to contact the Ctwell family are delayed by the need to constantly attend to baby Bink's needs, while Vico and Norby struggle with the basic tasks of feeding and diaper changing. None of them anticipated how much time and effort would be required to keep their captive happy and healthy, and they're quickly becoming overwhelmed by the responsibility. As the hours pass, Baby Bink's behavior becomes increasingly unpredictable and challenging. He cries frequently, refuses to eat the formula they've provided, and seems generally uncomfortable in his makeshift accommodations. The criminals interpret this behavior as evidence that their plan is beginning to unravel, though they haven't yet realized that the worst is still to come. The baby's crying creates additional problems for the kidnappers, as they're concerned that the noise might attract unwanted attention from neighbors or passersby. They attempt various strategies to keep him quiet, but their lack of experience with children makes their efforts largely ineffective. The situation is becoming more stressful and complicated than they had ever imagined. Eddie finally manages to place his ransom call to the Cinematography family, demanding a substantial sum of money in exchange for Baby Bink's safe return. His voice betrays his nervousness and inexperience, providing law enforcement officials with additional clues about his identity and psychological state. The call is traced and recorded, giving investigators valuable information about the kidnapper's location and methods. During the ransom call, Eddie attempts to sound menacing and professional, but his obvious anxiety and the sound of Baby Bink crying in the background undermine his intended image of competent criminality. The CEO family agrees to pay the ransom, though they're working closely with law enforcement to ensure that the exchange will result in both their son's safe return and the apprehension of his kid. The investigation into Baby Bink's disappearance intensifies as law enforcement agencies coordinate their efforts and deploy additional resources to the case. Surveillance teams are positioned throughout the city, monitoring locations where the kidnappers might attempt to collect their ransom payment. The net is slowly closing around the three criminals, though they remain unaware of how closely they're being pursued. At the hideout, the situation continues to deteriorate as Baby Bink becomes increasingly difficult to manage. His natural curiosity and developing mobility begin to manifest in ways that create new challenges for his captors. He starts exploring his environment with the kind of determined investigation that characterizes infants at his stage of development, touching everything within reach and attempting to crawl away from his designator reach. Vico and Norby find themselves constantly chasing after Baby Bink as he explores the apartment with single-minded determination. Their efforts to contain him in the cardboard box crib prove futile, as he quickly figures out how to climb out and resume his exploration. The criminals begin to realize that they've seriously underestimated both the intelligence and the physical capabilities of their 9-month-old captive. Baby Bink's exploration of the apartment reveals numerous safety hazards that the criminals hadn't considered when selecting this location as their hideout. The shabby surroundings include exposed electrical outlets, sharp corners, small objects that pose choking hazards, and various other dangers that require constant vigilance to prevent accidents. The kidnappers find themselves spending most of their time baby-proofing their environment and preventing their captive from injuring himself. As Baby Bink continues his determined exploration, he begins to display problem-solving abilities that surprise and concern his captors. He figures out how to open drawers, manipulate simple mechanisms, and navigate obstacles with an ingenuity that seems far beyond what they expected from someone his age. These behaviors begin to make the criminals question their assumptions about infant capabilities and intelligence. The baby's natural curiosity leads him to investigate every aspect of his new environment, including areas that the criminals had assumed would be inaccessible to someone so young. He manages to reach places they hadn't considered baby-proofing, creating new safety concerns and forcing them to constantly reassess and modify their containment strategy. Eddie's attempts to manage the ransom negotiation process are continually interrupted by the need to help his accomplices deal with Baby Bink's increasingly adventurous behavior. The infant's demands for attention and supervision are consuming far more of their time and energy than they had allocated for childcare responsibilities, making it difficult to concentrate on the criminal aspects of their operation. The stress of caring for Baby Bink begins to create tension and disagreements among the three criminals. They blame each other for various mishaps and failures, while their patience with both their captive and each other grows increasingly thin. The cohesion and cooperation that their plan required is breaking down under the pressure of circumstances they hadn't anticipated. Baby Bink seems largely oblivious to the stress he's causing his captors, continuing to explore and investigate his surroundings with the kind of focused determination that characterizes healthy infant development. He begins to understand the layout of the apartment and identifies areas of particular interest that warrant further investigation. His natural problem-solving abilities manifest in increasingly sophisticated ways, as he learns from each attempt to manipulate his environment and applies that knowledge to new challenges. The criminal's attempts to restrict Baby Bink's movements prove increasingly futile as he develops new strategies for escaping their supervision and accessing areas they've tried to declare off-limits. His persistence and creativity in overcoming obstacles begin to wear down their resistance and undermine their confidence in their ability to maintain control of the situation. Meanwhile, law enforcement officials are making steady progress in their investigation, following leads and gathering evidence that will eventually lead them to the kidnapper's location. The ransom call has provided them with valuable information about the criminal's psychological state and operational capabilities, allowing them to develop a more accurate profile of the individuals they're pursuing. Detective Grissom coordinates the various aspects of the investigation, ensuring that all available resources are being used effectively to locate Baby Bink and apprehend his kidnappers. He's particularly concerned about the welfare of the infant, knowing that amateur criminals can be unpredictable and prone to making mistakes that might endanger their victim. The detective's experience with similar cases tells him that time is a critical factor, as the stress and complications of holding a kidnapping victim often cause amateur criminals to panic and make poor decisions. Back at the hideout, Baby Bink's continued exploration leads him to discover a window that offers a view of the outside world. He becomes fascinated by the activity he can observe through the glass, including people walking on the sidewalk, vehicles passing in the street, and birds flying overhead. This new source of entertainment provides temporary relief for his captors, who hope that his interest in the window will keep him occupied and stationary. However, Baby Bink's interest in the window soon evolves from passive observation to active investigation. He begins to examine the window's mechanisms, including the latch that holds it closed and the screen that covers the opening. His natural curiosity drives him to understand how these components work and whether they can be manipulated to provide access to the fascinating world beyond the glass. The criminals initially dismiss Baby Bink's interest in the window as harmless entertainment that will help keep him quiet and content. They fail to recognize that his systematic examination of the window's components represents a form of problem-solving that could potentially lead to complications for their operation. As Baby Bink continues to investigate the window, he begins to understand the relationship between the various mechanical components and how they might be manipulated to achieve his objectives. His developing motor skills and natural persistence combine to create a determination that his captors seriously under. Eddie's growing frustration with the situation leads him to make increasingly desperate attempts to regain control over their operation. He tries various strategies to keep Baby Bink contained and manageable, but his lack of experience with children makes his efforts largely ineffective. The baby seems to view these containment attempts as interesting puzzles to be solved rather than restrictions to be obeyed. Vico and Norby are becoming increasingly anxious about their ability to successfully complete their criminal operation. They hadn't anticipated the level of work and stress involved in caring for their captive, and they're beginning to question whether the potential financial rewards justify the complications they're experiencing. The three criminals engage in increasingly heated discussions about how to manage their deteriorating situation. They blame each other for various failures and oversights, while their original confidence in their plan gives way to growing doubt and recrimination. The stress of their circumstances is undermining the cooperation and unity that their operation requires. Baby Bink remains largely unaware of the tension and conflict his presence is creating among his captors. He continues to explore his environment with the kind of focused interest that characterizes normal infant development, treating each new discovery as an exciting opportunity for learning and investigation. As the afternoon progresses, Baby Bink's systematic examination of the window begins to yield results. He discovers that the latch mechanism can be manipulated through patient experimentation, and he begins to understand the sequence of actions required to operate it. His persistence and problem-solving abilities are beginning to overcome the obstacles that separate him from the outside world. The criminals notice that Baby Bink is spending considerable time at the window, but they interpret this behavior as evidence that he's becoming more settled and manageable. They fail to recognize the purposeful nature of his activities or the potential implications of his growing understanding of the window's mechanisms. Eddie attempts to contact the CO12 family again to finalize the arrangements for the ransom exchange, but his call is interrupted by the need to respond to yet another crisis created by Baby Bink's exploratory behavior. The infant has managed to access a cabinet that the criminals thought was securely closed, scattering its contents across the floor and creating a new mess that requires immediate attention. The constant interruptions and complications are making it difficult for Eddie to maintain focus on the criminal aspects of their operation. He's spending more time dealing with childcare issues than managing the kidnapping and ransom negotiation, a development that threatens the success of their entire enterprise. As Baby Bink continues his exploration of the apartment, he begins to demonstrate an understanding of cause and effect relationships that surprises his captor. He learns from each interaction with his environment, applying knowledge gained from previous experiences to new situations and challenges. The baby's learning process is accelerated by the rich variety of objects and mechanisms available for investigation in the apartment. His systematic approach to exploration reveals a level of intelligence and determination that his captors find increasingly difficult to manage. They realize that their assumptions about infant capabilities were woefully inadequate, and they're struggling to adapt their strategies to deal with a captive who refuses to behave according to their expectations. The stress of the situation begins to manifest in increasingly irrational behavior from the three criminals. They make poor decisions, argue among themselves, and generally display the kind of panic and confusion that characterizes amateur criminals when their plans begin to unravel. They're working methodically through the available information, using both traditional investigative techniques and modern technology to narrow their search parameters. The detective is particularly interested in the psychological profile that's emerging from their analysis of the ransom calls and crime scene evidence. The kidnappers appear to be inexperienced criminals who may be prone to making mistakes under pressure, a characteristic that could work in favor of law enforcement's efforts to resolve the situation safely. As evening approaches, Baby Bink's exploration of the window finally yields the breakthrough he's been working toward. Through patient experimentation and systematic problem-solving, he manages to manipulate the latch mechanism successfully, opening the window and gaining access to the outside world that has captured his interest throughout the day. The opening of the window represents a turning point in Baby Bink's captivity, though his captors don't immediately realize what has happened. They're distracted by other aspects of their deteriorating situation, and fail to notice that their captive has achieved a level of freedom that could dramatically alter the dynamics of their operation. Baby Bink looks out through the open window with wonder and excitement, taking in the sights, sounds, and smells of the outside world that has been tantalizingly close throughout his captivity. The fresh air and expanded view provide him with new stimulation and opportunities for investigation. His success in opening the window demonstrates a level of problem-solving ability and persistence that would be impressive in someone much older. The 9-month-old infant has systematically analyzed a mechanical problem, developed a strategy for solving it, and successfully implemented that strategy despite the obstacles and distractions in his. The criminals remain unaware of Baby Bink's achievement, continuing to focus on their own problems and conflicts, while their captive quietly explores the new possibilities that the open window has provided. Their inattention to his activities will soon prove to be a critical oversight with far-reaching consequences. As Baby Bink investigates the open window more thoroughly, he begins to understand that it represents a potential pathway to the fascinating world beyond the confines of the apartment. His natural curiosity and desire for exploration draw him toward this new opportunity for adventure and discovery. The window opening is positioned at a height that makes it accessible to someone of Baby Bink's size and developing climbing abilities. The apartment's layout and furnishings provide natural stepping stones that he can use to reach the windowsill, creating a pathway that leads from his current location to the outside world. Baby Bink begins to experiment with different approaches to reaching the windowsill, testing various combinations of furniture and fixtures that might provide the boost he needs to access this new frontier. His systematic approach to problem-solving serves him well as he evaluates different possibilities and refines his strategy. The criminals continue to be distracted by their own concerns and conflicts, failing to monitor Baby Bink's activities with the attention that his demonstrated ingenuity and determination clearly warrant. They're learning too late that underestimating an infant's capabilities can lead to serious complications and unintended consequences. As Baby Bink works on his escape plan, he displays the kind of focused concentration and persistence that characterizes successful problem solvers of any age. He's not discouraged by initial failures or setbacks, instead treating each attempt as a learning opportunity that brings him closer to his objective. The baby's approach to the challenge demonstrates remarkable patience and systematic thinking for someone his age. He breaks down the complex problem of reaching the window into smaller, manageable components, addressing each element separately while maintaining focus on his ultimate goal. Eddie's attempts to finalize the ransom arrangement are repeatedly interrupted by various crises and complications, making it difficult for him to maintain the professional demeanor that successful criminal operations require. His growing frustration and anxiety are evident in his voice and behavior, providing law enforcement officials with additional insights into his psychological state. The stress of managing both a kidnapping operation and an increasingly demanding infant captive is proving to be beyond the capabilities of the three amateur criminals. They lack the experience, skills, and resources necessary to handle the complex challenges that their poorly planned operation. As the evening progresses, Baby Bink finally achieves his goal of reaching the windowsill. Through a combination of careful planning, persistent effort, and natural agility, he manages to climb up to the window opening and position himself for what he sees as the next phase of his great adventure. From his elevated position at the window, Baby Bink has an expanded view of the outside world that includes the fire escape platform just beyond the window opening. The fire escape appears to Baby Bink as an extension of the playground equipment he's familiar with from his privileged upbringing. The bars, platforms, and ladders look like interesting structures to climb and explore, though he has no understanding of their intended purpose or the potential dangers they might present. Baby Bink's decision to venture onto the fire escape is driven by the same natural curiosity and desire for exploration that has characterized his behavior throughout his captivity. He sees the metal structure as another fascinating puzzle to be investigated and mastered, rather than a potentially dangerous obstacle that should be avoided. The criminals finally notice that Baby Bink is no longer in his designated area of the apartment, but their initial reaction is confusion rather than alarm. They assume he's simply found another hiding place within the apartment and begin searching the various rooms and closets where he might have concealed himself. Their search of the apartment becomes increasingly frantic as they realize that Baby Bink is nowhere to be found inside the hideout. The possibility that he might have escaped doesn't immediately occur to them, as they had assumed that the apartment's doors and windows provided adequate security to contain their young captive. When the criminals finally discover the open window, they're initially bewildered about how Baby Bink could have managed to operate the latch mechanism and reach the windowsill. Their underestimation of his capabilities has left them completely unprepared for this development, and they struggle to understand how their plan could have gone so wrong. The sight of the empty apartment and open window creates immediate panic among the three kidnappers. They realize that losing their captive represents a catastrophic failure that threatens not only their financial objectives, but also their freedom, as escaped kidnapping victims can provide law enforcement officials with valuable information about their captors. Eddie's reaction to Baby Bink's escape is a mixture of disbelief, anger, and growing desperation. He had convinced himself that their operation was proceeding smoothly, despite the various complications they had encountered, and this latest development forces him to confront the reality that their plan has completely unraveled. Vico and Norby react to the crisis with the kind of panic and recrimination that typically characterizes amateur criminals when their operations fail. They blame each other for various oversights and failures, while their ability to think clearly and make rational decisions deteriorates under the pressure of their circumstances. Meanwhile, Baby Bink begins his exploration of the fire escape with the same systematic approach he applied to investigating the apartment. The metal structure offers new textures, sounds, and climbing opportunities that capture his interest and encourage further investigation. The fire escape's design includes safety features intended to prevent accidents, but these mechanisms are designed for adult users rather than curious infants. Baby Bink's small size and unconventional approach to the structure allow him to access areas and create situations that the safety systems weren't designed to address. As Baby Bink moves along the fire escape platform, he discovers that the metal grating provides interesting visual effects as he looks down through the openings at the ground far below. The geometric patterns and shadows created by the metalwork fascinate him, though he has no understanding of the height or potential danger of his position. The baby's natural fearlessness serves him well as he navigates the fire escape structure, but it also prevents him from recognizing situations that would cause adults to exercise caution. His lack of understanding about heights, falls, and gravity allows him to explore areas that would terrify older, more experienced individuals. Detective Grissom receives word that there has been unusual activity reported in the area where law enforcement officials suspect the kidnappers might be hiding. Witnesses have reported seeing suspicious individuals and hearing sounds that might be related to the kidnapping case, providing investigators with new leads to pursue. The detective coordinates the deployment of additional resources to the area, including surveillance teams and tactical units that can respond quickly if the kidnapper's location is confirmed. He's particularly concerned about Baby Bink's welfare, knowing that amateur criminals often make poor decisions when their operations begin to fail. As law enforcement officials close in on the kidnapper's location, the three criminals are dealing with the immediate crisis of their escaped captive. They realize that they need to locate Baby Bink quickly, both to salvage their criminal operation and to prevent him from providing information to authorities who might be searching for. Eddie attempts to organize a search for Baby Bink, but his panic and inexperience make it difficult for him to develop an effective strategy. He's torn between the need to find their escaped captive and the desire to abandon their failed operation and flee to safety. The criminals' search efforts are hampered by their unfamiliarity with the building and surrounding area, as well as their lack of experience in tracking or locating missing persons. They wander through hallways and stairwells without a systematic approach, calling Baby Bink's name and hoping for a response. Baby Bink continues his exploration of the fire escape system, moving from platform to platform with the kind of determination that has characterized his behavior throughout the day. Each new level offers fresh opportunities for investigation and discovery, maintaining his interest and encouraging continued exploration. The fire escape structure extends down the side of the building through multiple levels, providing Baby Bink with access to floors and areas that he wouldn't normally be able to reach. His journey becomes an unintended tour of the building, exposing him to new environments and experiences. As Baby Bink descends the fire escape system, he encounters windows and balconies that offer glimpses into other apartments and offices. These brief views of different spaces and activities provide additional stimulation and maintain his interest in continuing his exploratory journey. The baby's progress down the fire escape is observed by various residents and workers in the building, but many of them assume that he's under adult supervision or that his presence is part of some legitimate activity. The idea that a 9-month-old infant might be navigating the fire escape system independently seems too improbable for most people to consider seriously. Those who do notice Baby Bink's unusual situation are often uncertain about how to respond. Some attempt to call out to him or attract his attention, while others look around for adults who might be responsible for his supervision. The confusion and uncertainty create delays that allow Baby Bink to continue his journey unimpeded. The three criminals expand their search beyond the building, venturing into the surrounding streets and alleys in their desperate attempt to locate their escaped captive. Their panic and inexperience make their search efforts largely ineffective, as they lack the skills and resources necessary to conduct a proper investigation. Eddie's growing desperation leads him to consider increasingly drastic measures to recover Baby Bink and salvage their operation. He discusses various options with his accomplices, including the possibility of abandoning their hideout and relocating to a different area, where they might have better luck recapturing their escaped victim. The criminals' public search efforts attract attention from passers-by and local residents, who notice their suspicious behavior and obvious distress. Some observers become curious about what the three men are looking for, while others grow concerned about their frantic and somewhat threatening demeanor. Meanwhile, Baby Bink reaches the bottom level of the fire escape system, where he encounters a ladder mechanism designed to provide access to the ground level. The ladder represents a new type of climbing equipment that captures his interest and encourages further investigation. The fire escape ladder is designed with safety features that prevent unauthorized access from ground level. But these mechanisms don't prevent someone from descending from above. Baby Bink's approach from an unexpected direction allows him to bypass the security measures and continue his journey towards street level. As Baby Bink works his way down the ladder, he demonstrates the same problem-solving abilities and physical coordination that have served him well throughout his adventure. His small size and light weight make the climbing easier than it would be for an adult, though the height and complexity of the structure still present significant challenges. The baby's descent toward ground level brings him closer to the busy street activity that he observed from the apartment window. The sights, sounds, and energy of urban life provide new sources of stimulation and interest that draw him forward, despite the challenges and obstacles he encounters. Detective Grissom and his team arrive in the area where they believe the kidnappers are located, beginning a systematic search of buildings and locations that match their investigative profile. They're working methodically to avoid alerting the criminals to their presence while gathering information that will allow them to plan an effective rescue operation. The detective's experience with similar cases guides his approach to the search, as he understands the importance of maintaining operational security while working quickly to locate Baby Bink before the situation deteriorates further. He coordinates multiple teams and resources to maximize their coverage of the area while minimizing the risk of detection. As law enforcement officials close in on the kidnapper's location, Baby Bink completes his descent of the fire escape system and reaches street level. His successful navigation of the complex structure represents a remarkable achievement for someone his age, though he views it simply as another interesting experience in what has become an extended adventure. The busy city street presents Baby Bink with an entirely new environment to explore, filled with people, vehicles, buildings, and activities that capture his interest and curiosity. The urban landscape offers unlimited opportunities for investigation and discovery, though it also presents dangers and challenges that he's not equipped to recognize or handle. Baby Bink's appearance on the street attracts immediate attention from passers-by, who are surprised to see such a young child unaccompanied by adult supervision. Their reactions range from concern and offers of help to confusion about whether the situation requires intervention. Some observers assume that Baby Bink's parents or caregivers must be nearby, and they'll look around for adults who might be responsible for his supervision. When no obvious candidates appear, their concern grows, and they begin to consider whether they should take action to ensure the child's safety. The baby's cheerful demeanor and apparent comfort with his situation initially reassure some observers that he's not in immediate distress, though others recognize that his young age makes him vulnerable regardless of his emotional state. The debate about how to respond creates delays and confusion that allow Baby Bink to continue his exploration. As Baby Bink moves along the sidewalk, he encounters the kind of urban obstacles and hazards that adults navigate automatically, but that present novel challenges for someone his age and size. Curbs, fire hydrants, parking meters, and other street fixtures become interesting objects to investigate and climb. The baby's natural curiosity draws him toward various attractions and activities along his route, including store windows, street vendors, and other pedestrians who capture his interest. His journey becomes less directed and more opportunistic as he responds to whatever happens to catch his attention at any given moment. Meanwhile, the three criminals have expanded their search to include the surrounding neighborhood, though their efforts remain disorganized and ineffective. Their panic and inexperience prevent them from developing a systematic approach that might actually locate their escaped captive. Eddie's desperation leads him to make increasingly poor decisions about their search strategy and operational security. He's so focused on finding Baby Bink that he fails to consider the broader implications of their public activities and the attention they're attracting from local residents and potential witnesses. The criminals' frantic behavior and obvious distress make them stand out in the neighborhood attracting attention from people who might otherwise have ignored their presence. Their suspicious activities create the kind of memorable incidents that law enforcement officials can use to track their movements and identify their location. Detective Grissom receives reports of suspicious activity in the area, including descriptions of 3 men who match the profile of the suspected kidnappers. The information provides him with additional confirmation that his team is searching in the correct location and helps narrow their focus to specific buildings and areas. The detective coordinates with local law enforcement officials to gather more detailed information about the suspicious individuals. While maintaining surveillance of potential escape routes and gathering points, he's working to surround the area without alerting the criminals to law enforcement's presence. As Baby Bink continues his street-level exploration, he encounters a construction site that offers new and fascinating opportunities for investigation. The heavy equipment, building materials, and ongoing work activities present an entirely different environment from anything he's experienced during his adventure. The construction site's barriers and warning signs are designed to keep unauthorized personnel away from the work area, but they're not effective against someone of Baby Bink's size and unconventional approach to obstacles. He finds ways to access areas that would be restricted to adult visitors. The construction workers notice Baby Bink's presence but initially assume that he's accompanied by adult supervision somewhere in the area. When it becomes clear that he's alone, they face the same dilemma that other observers have encountered regarding how to respond to his unusual situation. Some workers attempt to approach Baby Bink directly, but he interprets their attention as part of the interesting activities happening at the construction site, rather than as offers of help or attempts at supervision. His independent exploration continues despite their presence and concern. Baby Bink's investigation of the construction site reveals heavy machinery, building materials, and work processes that fascinate him with their complexity and activity. The sounds, movements, and visual stimulation provide rich opportunities for observation and learning. His small size allows him to access areas of the construction site that would be difficult or impossible for adults to reach, creating situations that the site's safety protocols weren't designed to address. The workers find themselves dealing with safety challenges they've never encountered before. The construction site's elevation changes and varied terrain appeal to Baby Bink's natural desire for climbing and exploration. He treats the structures and equipment as an elaborate playground, though the workers recognize the potential dangers that he's unable to appreciate. As Baby Bink moves through the construction site, he demonstrates the same problem-solving abilities and physical coordination that have served him throughout his adventure. Each new challenge becomes an opportunity to apply his developing skills and learn new techniques for overcoming obstacles. The 3 criminals eventually realize that their public search efforts are attracting unwanted attention and potentially compromising their operational security. They attempt to modify their approach, but their panic and inexperience make it difficult for them to develop more effective strategies. Eddie's growing frustration with their failed search leads to increased conflict and recrimination among the group. The stress of their situation is breaking down the cooperation and unity that their operation required, making it even less likely that they'll successfully recover their escaped captive. Detective Grissom and his team continue to gather intelligence about the kidnappers' activities and location, using witness reports and physical evidence to build a comprehensive picture of the situation. They're working methodically to ensure that their eventual intervention will be successful and safe. The detective receives word that a young child matching Baby Bink's description has been observed in the area, providing confirmation that their search efforts are focused in the correct location. This information allows him to coordinate resources more effectively and prepare for the rescue operation. As law enforcement officials close in on both the kidnappers and their escaped captive, Baby Bink continues his exploration of the construction site with the same determination and curiosity that have characterized his entire adventure. He remains unaware of the larger drama surrounding his situation, treating each new experience as another interesting opportunity for discovery. The construction workers' attempts to ensure Baby Bink's safety create additional complications as they try to balance their concern for his welfare with their need to continue their work activities. The presence of an unsupervised infant at an active construction site presents unprecedented challenges that their safety protocols don't adequately address. Baby Bink's continued exploration leads him to discover a large crane that offers new climbing opportunities and elevated views of the surrounding area. The mechanical complexity and impressive height of the structure appeal to his sense of adventure and desire for new experiences. The crane's operator notices Baby Bink's interest in the equipment, but assumes that the child is accompanied by adult supervision, somewhere in the area. When it becomes clear that the baby is alone and attempting to climb the crane's structure, the operator faces a serious safety dilemma that requires immediate attention. The crane represents perhaps the most significant challenge that Baby Bink has encountered during his adventure, combining complex mechanical systems with considerable height and potential danger. However, his lack of understanding about these risks allows him to approach the structure with the same fearless curiosity he's displayed throughout his journey. As Baby Bink begins to climb the crane structure, he demonstrates remarkable agility and problem-solving ability for someone his age. His small size and light weight actually provide advantages in navigating the metal framework, though the height and complexity of the structure present unprecedented challenge. The construction workers mobilize to address the emergency situation created by Baby Bink's presence on the crane, though their options are limited by the need to ensure his safety while removing him from the dangerous location. The situation requires specialized knowledge and equipment that may not be immediately available. Meanwhile, Detective Grissom receives reports of the emergency situation at the construction site, providing him with precise information about Baby Bink's current location. This development allows him to coordinate a rescue operation while simultaneously moving to apprehend the kidnappers who are still searching the area. The detective realizes that the situation has become more complex and urgent, as Baby Bink's location at an active construction site presents immediate safety concerns that require prompt intervention. He coordinates with local emergency services to ensure that appropriate resources are available for the rescue operation. Eddie and his accomplices learn about the commotion at the construction site and realize that it might be connected to their desperation to recover Baby Bink leads them to approach the area despite the obvious risks of exposing themselves to law enforcement attention. The criminals' decision to investigate the construction site situation represents another example of their poor judgment and panic-driven decision-making. They're so focused on recovering Baby Bink that they fail to consider the broader implications of their actions and the likelihood that law enforcement officials are also responding to the emergency. As Baby Bink continues to climb the crane structure, he maintains the same cheerful demeanor and sense of adventure that have characterized his behavior throughout his journey. His lack of fear and apparent enjoyment of the climbing challenge provides some reassurance to the worried observers below, though they remain deeply concerned about his safety. The baby's progress up the crane demonstrates his remarkable physical capabilities and determination, though it also increases the complexity and danger of any rescue attempt. Each additional foot of elevation makes the situation more challenging for the emergency responders, who will eventually need to bring him down safely. The crane operator works to position the equipment in the safest possible configuration, while emergency responders develop their rescue plan. The situation requires careful coordination between multiple agencies and specialists to ensure that Baby Bink can be recovered without injury. Detective Grissom arrives at the construction site and immediately takes charge of coordinating the various agencies and resources involved in the rescue operation. His experience with complex emergency situations helps him organize an effective response that addresses both Baby Bink's immediate safety and the broader law enforcement objectives. The detective's assessment of the situation reveals that Baby Bink appears to be in no immediate distress and is continuing to climb the crane structure with apparent confidence and enjoyment. This observation provides some reassurance about his current condition while highlighting the urgency of developing an effective rescue plan. As emergency responders prepare their rescue equipment and strategies, Baby Bink reaches a platform area of the crane that offers him a spectacular view of the surrounding city. The elevated perspective provides him with entirely new visual experiences and maintains his interest in continuing his climb. The baby's position on the crane platform makes him visible to observers throughout the area, creating a crowd of concerned onlookers who gather to watch the developing rescue operation. The public attention adds additional pressure to the situation while potentially complicating the emergency response efforts. From his elevated position, Baby Bink can observe the activity and commotion his presence has created below, though he interprets the crowd and emergency vehicles as interesting entertainment rather than evidence of concern for his safety. His cheerful responses to the crowd's attention demonstrate his continued good spirits, despite his precarious situation. The three criminals approach the construction site area, but are forced to maintain their distance due to the heavy law enforcement and emergency services presence. They realize that their opportunity to recover Baby Bink has been lost, and that their own freedom is now at serious risk. Eddie's recognition that their operation has completely failed leads to desperate discussions about escape strategies and damage control measures. The criminals must now focus on avoiding capture rather than completing their original kidnapping and ransom plan. Detective Grissom spots the three suspicious individuals maintaining surveillance of the rescue operation and immediately recognizes them as likely suspects in the kidnapping case. He coordinates with other law enforcement officials to surround and apprehend the criminals while maintaining focus on Baby Bink's rescue. The simultaneous rescue and arrest operations require careful coordination to ensure that both objectives can be achieved safely and effectively. Detective Grissom works to balance the immediate priority of Baby Bink's safety with the law enforcement goal of apprehending his kidnappers. As emergency responders prepare to begin the actual rescue operation, Baby Bink continues his exploration of the crane platform with the same systematic approach he's used throughout his adventure. The elevated location offers new objects and mechanisms to investigate, maintaining his interest and curiosity. The rescue team includes specialists in high-angle rescue techniques and child psychology, ensuring that they have the expertise necessary to safely recover Baby Bink while minimizing his stress and fear. The operation requires careful planning and execution to address the unique challenges of rescuing an infant from such an elevated and complex location. Baby Bink's continued cheerful demeanor and apparent comfort with his situation provide some reassurance to the rescue team, though they remain focused on the serious safety risks presented by his location. Their approach must balance the need for prompt action with the importance of maintaining his cooperation and reducing his anxiety. The rescue operation begins with team members positioning themselves at strategic locations around the crane structure while maintaining communication with Baby Bink to assess his condition and responses. The initial phase focuses on establishing contact and building trust with the young victim. Baby Bink responds to the rescue team's presence with the same friendly curiosity he's displayed toward other adults throughout his adventure. His lack of fear or distress about his situation simplifies some aspects of the rescue while highlighting his remarkable resilience and adaptability. As the rescue team begins their approach, Detective Grissom coordinates the arrest of the three kidnappers who have been attempting to maintain surveillance of the operation. The criminals are taken into custody without incident, though their capture is complicated by the ongoing rescue operation that requires most of the available law enforcement resources. Eddie's arrest marks the end of what will undoubtedly be remembered as one of the most incompetent kidnapping operations in criminal history. His poor planning, underestimation of his victim's capabilities, and panic-driven decision-making have led to complete failure and certain prosecution. The rescue team makes steady progress in their approach to Baby Bink's location, using specialized equipment and techniques to safely navigate the crane structure, while maintaining constant communication with their young target. Their expertise and careful planning help ensure that the operation proceeds smoothly despite the complex challenges involved. Baby Bink continues to display remarkable cooperation with the rescue effort, responding positively to the team members' voices and gestures, while maintaining his characteristic cheerful demeanor. His behavior suggests that he views the rescue operation as another interesting aspect of his extended adventure, rather than as a frightening or traumatic experience. The successful rescue of Baby Bink from the crane structure represents the culmination of an extraordinary day. The rescue team successfully brings Baby Bink down from the crane structure to the cheers and applause of the gathered crowd. Emergency medical personnel immediately examine him to ensure that his extraordinary adventure hasn't resulted in any injuries or trauma, though he appears to be in excellent health and spirits despite his harrowing experience. Baby Bink seems almost disappointed that his climbing adventure has come to an end, looking back up at the crane structure with obvious interest as if considering another attempt at exploration. His resilience and apparent enjoyment of the day's events astound the emergency responders, who have witnessed many rescue operations but never encountered such a remarkably adaptable and fearless infant. Detective Grissom oversees the reunion between Baby Bink and his frantic parents, who arrive at the construction site within minutes of being notified about their son's recovery. Lorraine Sotwell's emotional reaction to seeing her baby safe and unharmed provides a stark contrast to the infant's calm acceptance of the day's extraordinary events. The CO12 family's reunion is filled with tears of relief and joy as they hold their son close and examine him for any signs of injury or distress. Baby Bink responds to his parents' emotional display with his characteristic cheerful babbling, seemingly unaware of the trauma and fear his absence has caused throughout the household and law enforcement community. Medical personnel conduct a thorough examination of Baby Bink at the scene, checking for dehydration, injuries, and signs of psychological trauma that might result from his kidnapping and subsequent adventure. Their assessment reveals that despite spending hours away from his normal care routine, the infant appears to be in remarkably good condition, both physically and emotionally. The medical team's findings suggest that Baby Bink's natural resilience and adaptability have helped protect him from the potentially traumatic effects of his experience. His ability to treat new situations as interesting adventures rather than threatening circumstances appears to have served as a psychological defense mechanism that preserved his emotional well-being. Detective Grissom begins the process of interviewing witnesses and gathering evidence from the various locations where Baby Bink's adventure took place. The investigation reveals a trail of amazed observers who witnessed different aspects of his remarkable journey through the city, each providing pieces of a puzzle that illustrates the infant's extraordinary capability. The construction workers provide detailed accounts of Baby Bink's behavior at their site, describing his systematic approach to exploring the equipment and structures with a level of intelligence and problem-solving ability that exceeded their expectations for someone his age. Their testimony helps establish a timeline of events and provides insights into the baby's remarkable adaptability. Witnesses from the apartment building where Baby Bink escaped from his captors describe seeing him navigate the fire escape system with apparent confidence and skill. Their accounts help investigators understand how the infant managed to escape from what the kidnappers had assumed was a secure location, revealing the extent to which they had underestimated their captive's capabilities. The three arrested kidnappers undergo separate interrogations where they provide conflicting accounts of their failed operation, each attempting to minimize his own responsibility while blaming his accomplices for the various failures and oversights that led to their capture. Their statements reveal the extent of their inexperience and poor planning. His assumption that caring for an infant would be simple and straightforward demonstrates a fundamental misunderstanding of child development and behavior that doomed their plan from the beginning. His account provides insights into the stress and panic that developed among the kidnappers as they realized their captive was far more capable and demanding than they had anticipated. Norby's interrogation reveals perhaps the clearest picture of just how overwhelmed the criminals became when faced with the reality of caring for Baby Bink. His descriptions of the infant's systematic exploration and problem-solving abilities help investigators understand how the escape occurred and why the kidnappers were unable to prevent it. The investigation into the kidnapping reveals numerous instances where the criminals' poor planning and execution created opportunities for their capture. Their failure to adequately research their target, secure their hideout, or develop contingency plans for complications made their eventual apprehension almost inevitable. Detective Grissom's analysis of the case highlights several important lessons about infant capabilities and the dangers of underestimating young children's intelligence and resourcefulness. Baby Bink's adventure demonstrates that even very young children possess remarkable problem-solving abilities and determination that adults often fail to recognize or appreciate. The media coverage of Baby Bink's adventure captures public attention and imagination, with news outlets struggling to explain how a 9-month-old infant managed to escape from kidnappers and navigate complex urban environments without adult assistance. The story becomes a sensation that challenges common assumptions about infant capabilities. Child development experts weigh in on the case, explaining that Baby Bink's behavior, while extraordinary in its execution, represents normal developmental patterns taken to remarkable extremes. His systematic approach to problem-solving and persistent exploration of his environment demonstrate cognitive abilities that are present in most infants. The CO12 family's experience highlights the importance of recognizing and nurturing the natural curiosity and problem-solving abilities that babies display from an early age. Baby Bink's adventure serves as a reminder that infants are far more capable and intelligent than many adults realize, requiring supervision that accounts for their developing abilities. The construction site where Baby Bink's adventure reached its climax implements new safety protocols designed to prevent similar incidents in the future. The workers' experience with the infant's remarkable climbing abilities leads to enhanced barriers and monitoring systems that account for the possibility of small, determined intruders. The apartment building where the kidnappers held Baby Bink undergoes security improvements following the investigation's revelation of how easily the criminals gained access to the property. The building management installs additional surveillance equipment and access controls to prevent similar incidents in the future. Law enforcement agencies use the case as a training example for officers who might encounter similar situations involving missing children and incompetent criminals. Baby Bink's adventure provides valuable lessons about the unpredictability of both criminal behavior and infant capabilities that can inform future investigations. The psychological evaluation of Baby Bink following his adventure reveals no signs of trauma or negative effects from his experience. Child psychologists are amazed by his resilience and ability to process the day's events as positive experiences rather than frightening or traumatic encounters. The evaluation process includes extensive observation of Baby Bink's behavior, interactions with his parents, and responses to various stimuli that might trigger memories of his kidnapping experience. The results consistently show a happy, healthy infant who appears to have been largely unaffected by his extraordinary adventure. Child development specialists studying Baby Bink's case note that his adventure provides unprecedented real-world evidence of infant cognitive abilities that are typically only observed in controlled laboratory settings. His systematic problem-solving, spatial reasoning, and adaptability demonstrate developmental capabilities that challenge existing theories about infant intelligence and learning capacity. The research team documenting Baby Bink's case establishes a comprehensive timeline of his activities throughout the day, tracking his movement from the CO mansion through his escape from the kidnappers' hideout to his eventual rescue from the construction site. Each phase of his journey reveals different aspects of his remarkable problem-solving abilities and physical coordination. Behavioral analysts examine video footage from various security cameras that captured portions of Baby Bink's adventure, studying his movements and decision-making processes to understand how he navigated complex environments and overcame obstacles that would challenge individuals many times his age. The footage provides objective documentation of his extraordinary capability. The security camera analysis reveals that Baby Bink's exploration patterns followed logical progressions, with each new discovery building upon previous experiences and knowledge. His ability to transfer learning from one situation to another demonstrates cognitive flexibility that exceeds normal expectations for infant development. Experts in infant motor development study Baby Bink's climbing and navigation abilities, particularly his physical coordination and strength appear to be within normal ranges for his age, suggesting that his achievements resulted more from determination and problem-solving than exceptional physical gifts. The motor development analysis concludes that Baby Bink's success stemmed from his systematic approach to physical challenges rather than unusual strength or agility. His willingness to experiment with different techniques and learn from unsuccessful attempts allowed him to overcome obstacles that might have stopped less persistent individuals. Educational researchers examine the implications of Baby Bink's adventure for early childhood learning and development programs. His demonstration of advanced problem-solving abilities suggests that many infants may be capable of more complex learning than traditional education assumes. The educational analysis leads to recommendations for enhanced early childhood programs that provide more opportunities for exploration, problem-solving, and independent discovery. Baby Bink's adventure illustrates the importance of allowing young children to engage with challenging environments under appropriate supervision. Safety experts review the various locations where Baby Bink's adventure took place, identifying design features and security measures that fail to account for the capability. Their analysis leads to updated safety standards and protocols for protecting children in various environments. The safety review reveals that many child protection measures are designed based on outdated assumptions about infant capabilities and behavior patterns. Baby Bink's adventure demonstrates the need for more comprehensive approaches to child safety that account for the intelligence and determination that young children can display. Law enforcement training programs incorporate lessons learned from Baby Bink's case into their curricula for officers who might encounter missing children or failed kidnapping attempts. The case provides valuable insights into both criminal psychology and child behavior that can inform future investigations. The training materials developed from Baby Bink's case emphasize the importance of not underestimating either criminals' capacity for poor planning or children's ability to adapt and survive in challenging circumstances. The case serves as a reminder that real-world situations often defy conventional expectations and assumptions. Medical professionals studying Baby Bink's case examined the physical and psychological factors that enabled him to endure his adventure without apparent harm or trauma. His resilience provides insights into infant stress responses and coping mechanisms that could inform pediatric care practices. The medical analysis reveals that Baby Bink's positive emotional state throughout his adventure likely contributed to his ability to maintain good health, despite his treatment of new experiences as interesting adventures rather than threatening situations appears to have protected him from stress-related health problems. Nutritional experts examine how Baby Bink maintained his energy and health throughout the day, despite missing several scheduled feedings and being offered inappropriate food by his kidnappers. His ability to function normally without his usual dietary routine demonstrates remarkable physiological routine. The nutritional study concludes that healthy infants possess greater reserves and adaptability than many caregivers realize, though this should not be interpreted as reducing the importance of maintaining proper feeding schedules and nutritional standards. Baby Bink's experience represents an exceptional situation, rather than a model for normal care. The Contect family works with security consultants to enhance the protection of their home and family following Baby Bink's adventure. The experience has made them acutely aware of both external threats and their son's remarkable ability to find his way into situations that require constant vigilance. The security improvements at the Contect mansion include enhanced surveillance systems, improved access controls, and specialized monitoring equipment designed to track Baby Bink's location and activities within the house. The family recognizes that traditional child-proofing measures may be insufficient for someone with his demonstrated capabilities. Child psychologists working with the Contect family help them understand and respond appropriately to Baby Bink's advanced capabilities, while ensuring that his emotional and social development proceeds normally. The challenge lies in nurturing his intelligence and curiosity while maintaining appropriate safety boundaries. The psychological consultation emphasizes the importance of providing Baby Bink with appropriate outlets for his problem-solving abilities and desire for exploration. The family learns to create safe but challenging environments that satisfy his need for investigation while protecting him from genuine dangers. The three convicted kidnappers face serious federal charges related to their bungled operation, with prosecutors emphasizing the potential dangers their incompetence created for Baby Bink despite his remarkable ability to cope with the situation. Their sentences reflect both the seriousness of kidnapping charges and the aggravating factors of their poor planning and execution. Eddie receives the longest sentence due to his role as the operations leader and his history of previous criminal activities. His conviction serves as a warning to other would-be criminals about the serious consequences of kidnapping charges, even when the victims demonstrate extraordinary resilience. Vico and Norby receive somewhat lighter sentences in recognition of their obvious incompetence and the evidence that they were reluctant participants who were overwhelmed by circumstances beyond their understanding. Their cases become examples of how criminal associations can lead individuals into situations they are completely unprepared to handle. The legal proceedings reveal the extent to which the three kidnappers underestimated every aspect of their operation, From the challenges of caring for an infant to the sophistication of law enforcement response capabilities, their testimonies provide a clear illustration of how poor planning and unrealistic expectations led to inevitable failure. Media coverage of the trial focuses attention on the broader issues of child safety and the remarkable capabilities that young children can display under extraordinary circumstances. Baby Bink's adventure becomes a cultural touchstone that challenges assumptions about infant helplessness and dependency. The trial coverage also highlights the importance of effective law enforcement coordination and the value of community awareness in protecting children from criminal activity. The successful resolution of Baby Bink's case demonstrates how multiple agencies and concerned citizens can work together to ensure positive outcomes. Educational institutions begin incorporating Baby Bink's story into their child development and criminal justice curricula, using the case to illustrate important principles about human behavior, problem solving, and the interaction between individual capabilities and environmental challenges. The academic analysis of Baby Bink's case contributes to ongoing research into infant cognition, motor development, and stress resilience. His adventure provides real-world data that supplements laboratory studies and controlled experiments in understanding how young children respond to challenging situations. Child safety advocates use Baby Bink's story to promote awareness of the need for appropriate supervision and protection of young children, while also recognizing their remarkable capabilities and potential for independent action. The case illustrates the complex balance between safety and developmental opportunity. The advocacy efforts emphasize that Baby Bink's successful navigation of dangerous situations should not be interpreted as evidence that young children can be left unsupervised or exposed to unnecessary risks. His exceptional experience highlights the importance of protective measures rather than diminishing them. Parenting experts incorporate lessons from Baby Bink's adventure into their guidance for families with young children, emphasizing the importance of understanding and respecting infant capabilities while maintaining appropriate safety measures. The case provides valuable insights into the balance between protection and developmental support. The parenting guidance derived from Baby Bink's case emphasizes the value of providing safe opportunities for exploration and problem solving, while recognizing that most children will not display his level of extraordinary capability. The goal is to nurture potential while maintaining realistic expectations and appropriate safeguards. Urban planners and architects examine the environments through which Baby Bink traveled during his adventure, identifying. Their analysis contributes to improved standards for child safety in public spaces and building design. The architectural review reveals that many urban environments contain features that are accessible to determined children, despite being designed primarily for adult use. Baby Bink's adventure highlights the need for more comprehensive consideration of child safety in public space, design, and construction standards. The construction industry develops new safety protocols based on Baby Bink's remarkable infiltration of their work site and his successful climbing of complex equipment. His adventure demonstrates that traditional safety measures may be inadequate for protecting against small, agile, and determined intruders. Baby Bink's case serves as a reminder that construction sites attract curious children who may possess greater capabilities than adults typically expect. Emergency response teams study the rescue operation that brought Baby Bink down from the crane, analyzing the techniques and procedures that proved most effective in dealing with an infant victim in a high-risk situation. The case provides valuable training material for future rescue operations involved. The emergency response analysis emphasizes the importance of maintaining calm communication with child victims and the value of specialized equipment and training for high-angle rescues involving infants. Baby Bink's cooperation with the rescue effort contributed significantly to the operation's success. Fire departments across the country examine Baby Bink's successful navigation of the fire escape system, reviewing their own building safety inspections and emergency evacuation procedures to ensure they account for the possibility of very young children using these systems independently. Baby Bink's adventure demonstrates that even very young children can navigate emergency systems when motivated by curiosity or necessity. Building managers and property owners implement enhanced security measures, following Baby Bink's demonstration of how easily determined individuals can bypass traditional access controls. His escape from the kidnapper's hideout reveals vulnerabilities in standard building security systems. The building security improvements include enhanced window locks, improved monitoring of fire escape access points, and upgraded surveillance systems that can detect unusual activity in areas that were previously considered secure. Baby Bink's adventure serves as a case study in comprehensive security planning. Insurance companies review their policies and risk assessment procedures in light of Baby Bink's adventure, recognizing that traditional assumptions about infant capabilities may not adequately account for the risks and liabilities associated with extraordinary child behavior. Industry analysis leads to updated risk models that better account for the unpredictable nature of child behavior and the potential for individual. Baby Bink's case illustrates the challenges of predicting human behavior in extreme situations. Technology companies develop new monitoring and tracking systems inspired by Baby Bink's adventure, creating products designed to help parents and caregivers keep track of particularly active and capable children. His case demonstrates the need for more sophisticated child monitoring solutions. The technological innovations include wearable devices, enhanced home monitoring systems, and mobile applications that can track child location and activity patterns. Baby Bink's adventure highlights the value of technology in supporting child safety, while respecting developmental needs for exploration and independence. Research institutions establish ongoing studies to follow Baby Bink's continued development, hoping to understand whether his extraordinary adventure was an isolated incident or an indication of exceptional capabilities that will manifest throughout his childhood. The longitudinal research aims to contribute to understanding of gifted child development. The research program includes regular assessments of Baby Bink's cognitive, motor, and emotional development, comparing his progress to established norms while documenting any ongoing signs of the exceptional capabilities he displayed during his adventure. The study aims to inform understanding of early identification and support for gifted children. International child safety organizations examine Baby Bink's case as part of their efforts to develop global standards for protecting children while supporting healthy development. His adventure provides insights that transcend cultural and national boundaries in understanding child capabilities and protection needs. The international analysis recognizes that Baby Bink's adventure occurred within a specific cultural and urban context, but the fundamental questions it raises about child capabilities and safety apply across different societies and environments. The case contributes to universal understanding of child development and protection. The publishing industry produces numerous books and articles analyzing Baby Bink's adventure from various perspectives, including child development, criminal justice, emergency response, and urban planning. His story becomes a multidisciplinary case study that informs multiple fields of professional practice. The published analyses of Baby Bink's case provide detailed examination of the factors that contributed to his successful navigation of challenging situations, the failures in the criminal operation that led to his escape, and the implications for various professional practices and policies. Documentary filmmakers create detailed examinations of Baby Bink's adventure, interviewing the various professionals who were involved in his rescue and the experts who have studied his case. The documentaries help preserve the lessons learned from his experience for future reference and training purposes. The documentary productions emphasize the remarkable nature of Baby Bink's adventure, while highlighting the serious safety and criminal justice issues that his case illuminated. The films serve both educational and entertainment purposes, while respecting the privacy and dignity of the individuals involved. Professional conferences in fields ranging from child development to emergency management feature presentations about Baby Bink's case, with experts sharing insights and lessons learned from his adventure. The case becomes a standard reference point for discussions about child capabilities and safety. The conference presentations contribute to ongoing professional development and knowledge sharing across multiple disciplines, ensuring that the lessons learned from Baby Bink's adventure inform current practice and policy development in relevant fields. Academic journals publish peer-reviewed research articles analyzing various aspects of Baby Bink's adventure, contributing to the scholarly understanding of infant development, criminal behavior, emergency response, and other relevant topics. The case provides rich material for multidisciplinary research. The academic publications ensure that Baby Bink's case contributes to the permanent scholarly record, providing future researchers and practitioners with detailed analysis of the factors and outcomes associated with his extraordinary adventure. The CO12 family establishes a foundation dedicated to supporting research into early childhood development and child safety, using their experience with Baby Bink's adventure to promote better understanding of infant capabilities and protection needs. The foundation channels their experience into positive outcomes for other families. The foundation's work includes funding research projects, supporting educational programs, and advocating for policy changes that better. Baby Bink's adventure serves as the inspiration for efforts that benefit children beyond his own family. Law enforcement agencies develop specialized training programs for officers who might encounter cases involving missing children with exceptional capabilities, using Baby Bink's adventure as a primary case study for understanding how traditional assumptions about child behavior can be inadequate in unusual circumstances. The specialized training emphasizes the importance of keeping open minds about what children might be capable of accomplishing, and the need for comprehensive search strategies that account for unexpected possibilities. Baby Bink's case demonstrates that children can sometimes exceed all reasonable expectations for independent action. Child advocacy organizations use Baby Bink's story to promote policies that balance child protection with recognition of infant and toddler capabilities, arguing for approaches that provide safety without unnecessarily restricting healthy development and exploration. The advocacy efforts emphasize that Baby Bink's exceptional adventure should inform but not dictate policy decisions about childcare and protection. His case illustrates the importance of individualized approaches that account for varying levels of child capability and development. Mental health professionals studying Baby Bink's case examined the factors that protected him from psychological trauma during his adventure, seeking to understand how some children develop resilience that enables them to cope with extraordinary challenges without lasting negative effects. The mental health analysis contributes to understanding of childhood resilience and trauma prevention, providing insights that could help other children who face challenging or traumatic experiences. Baby Bink's positive adaptation serves as a model for studying protective factors in child development. The story of Baby Bink's adventure becomes a cultural phenomenon that challenges societal assumptions about infant helplessness and dependency, encouraging parents and caregivers to recognize and respect the remarkable capabilities that young children possess while maintaining appropriate safety measures. Baby Bink's legacy extends far beyond his individual experience, contributing to broader cultural shifts in understanding child development. His adventure serves as a reminder that children are far more capable and resilient than many adults realize, while also highlighting the continued importance of appropriate supervision and safety measures. The long-term impact of Baby Bink's adventure continues to influence multiple fields of professional practice and policy development, ensuring that his extraordinary experience contributes to improved outcomes for children. Years later, Baby Bink's adventure remains a touchstone for discussions about child capabilities, criminal justice, emergency response, and safety planning, serving as a permanent reminder of the remarkable potential that exists within even the youngest members of our society.